Kakadosh, Masechet Yoma Daf Ayin Tet Amud Aleph. Boker Tov. We're going to start just on Chet Amud Bet on the last line where it says how Chelke Kotevet Agasa. If somebody's going to eat, right, like a Kotevet Agasa, which is like a date that has with the garin, with the pit, so then they're going to be Chayav Karet on Kippur. So by Rav Papa comes and he asks the following question. This kotevet that they spoke about, begarina or beglo garina? We're talking about with the garin, with the pit, or without the pit. So basically, we're talking about with the nefach, with the volume of the actual pit, or without it. So by Ravashi comes and he asks the following question: Etzem keseora. What about the etzem keseora? Remember with tum'ah, right? The grogeret with the pit and everything that was to do with Kippur. Now we're talking about the tum'ah, to do with tum'ah v'tara. Etzem keseora. Is that beklipata or bli klipata? The etzem, it has to be a bone that is like a seorah, is like a barley. Is that right with the klipa or without the klipa? Yeah. So says the Gemara, belacha or bivesha, whether it's going to be moist or is it going to be dry. So we have to find out. So the Gemara says, Ravashi lomi baile. So Ravashi comes and he didn't actually have the question. Why? He didn't have the safek in this. Why? The had Rav Papa, was that what Rav Papa said? Gasa itmar, as kol kama de gasa. He said as long as it was going to be gasa, it was going to be very big, that we're going to come and say it was going to be a very big type of a kotevet, okay? Which is going to be a bigger shiur, okay? Rav Papa, right? Rav Papa lomi ba'ele had Ravashi. Rav Papa do not have the same question that Ravashi said to do with when it says gasa. Lacha shibolet mikre. He says very simple because when it says lacha is called a shibolet, right? And it's shelo beklipata ushle mikre. But if it's without the klipa, it's called an ushle. So for he didn't have the safek to do with the seorah, with the klipa, without the klipa, lacha yivesha. Very simple because he says that when you're talking about lacha, it's called a shibolet, and when you're talking about shelo beklipata, it's called an ushla. So it's got two different names. Okay. So Amar Rava, Amar Rav Yehuda, says Rava, the name of Rav Yehuda. Yeah, when he says Kotevet Agasa Shamru, the Kotevet Agasa that we're talking about in our Mishnah, Yetenami Kabetza, are we talking about that it's going to be more than a Kabetza? Which means that even though all the Yisurei Achila in the Torah are a Kazait, remember that a Kazait is half of a Kabetza. To do with Yom Kippurim, it's only like a bigger shiur. So Kim Lehud Rabbanan, that the rabbis actually came and they said, right? Because with this is what a person gets calmed down. But if it's going to be less, they're not going to be calmed down. Which means like this: even though usually throughout the entire Torah, a person chas v'shalom, they're going to eat chazir, they're going to eat pig, they're going to eat whatever it is, chelev, dam, whatever, right? Obviously, what's going to happen? They're going to be chayav in what? In a kazait. Okay, dam is a little bit different because it's a liquid. Liquid is usually to eat, right? But anything which is a solid, usually it's a kazait. So if you eat a kazait, that's already enough. By Kippur, it's not the same thing. Why? Because by Kippur, right, it's going to be more. The reason why is because the Chachamim say that if you're not going to eat a kotevet, you're not calm. And if you eat a little tiny bite, yeah, there's nothing there. You understand? It has to be that there's such a thing. Which one? So you're not going to be chayav. You have to eat a bigger amount in order that you're calm. When are you going to be calm? No, more than a kazait. A kazait, you're not calm. A kotevet, that's the size, right? A kotevet is a dried fig, a dried date. Yeah, the kotevet is a date. Okay, so with the pit, that's what we just said, with the pit. Yeah. So now it says over here like this. So ask the Gemara, Meitve, so there was a story, and they brought to Rabbi Yochanan and Zakai to taste tafshil. And Rabbi Gamliel, they brought him two katavot and a dli shemayim. Right now, this is talking about outside of the sukkah. Okay, we're talking about outside of the sukkah. Ve'amru, and the Hiv said, halum la sukkah, bring it into the sukkah. V'tani Allah, so we learned in a write down the Mishnah, lo mipnei shalachar. It's not because the halacha is like that. You're allowed to eat two kutavot and drink water outside of the sukkah, but rather ratzu lachmir al atzman. They wanted to be machmir on themselves, right? Ukshenatnu, right? So he says over here, kishenatnu lo l'Rabbi Tzadok, ochel pachom mikabetza. So when they gave to Rabbi Tzadok food which is less than a kabetza, Nitalo b'mapa. He took it with a mapa, which means he didn't do netilat yadayim. He just, wrapped it around in a mapa, and then he ate it because he didn't want to do netilat yadayim because it was less than a kabetza. Remember, if you do less than a kabetza, what happens? If you eat bread, less than a kabetza. יפה מאוד. בלי ברכה על נטילת ידיים. Right? If you do less than a kazait, then according to a lot of shitot, you don't have to do netilat yadayim at all. Which one? No, birkat hamazon is on a kazait. Right? Birkat hamazon is on a kazait. No, not always. A kazait. You need a kazait. Kazait, it's not always. What? No, birkat hamazon is not a kabetza. Birkat hamazon is not a kabetza. No. Shulchan Aruch does not pass like the Rambam. Yeah. We are somech on the Rambam b'shat dachak, things like that, but not lachmid. The opposite, but because of is bracha levatala if you're not chayav. Why are you going the other way?
Rambam is 18.
But it doesn't matter. But again, one more time, according to Shitat Rambam, bracha levatala is isur doraita. Yeah, so I cannot make a bracha levatala if I didn't. For sure, but at the end of the day, less
from 18 is the
100%. But if the person does not, he does not do the bracha. Not because he ate the 18, right? He still does do the bracha. You understand?
Less from 18.
Yeah. So he says now, netalo b'mapa, v'achalo chutz sukkah. So he eats it outside of the sukkah. Velo birech acharav, but he does not say afterwards the birkat hamazon. Okay? Why? He says over here, because according to him, the chiyuv of birkat hamazon is only going to be a kabetza. So says the Gemara, ha kabetza ba'isukkah. But if you do have a kabetza, you would have to eat right? You would have to eat it inside the sukkah. Now it says in Ayin Tet Amud Bet, 79b. So it says, v'yisal kadai tachna. If you're going to tell me kotevet hagasa shamru yitera kabetza, that the kotevet hagasa is more than a kabetza. Hashta shte kotovot belo garinan lo havu kabetza. You're going to tell me the two kotovot are not going to be right without the garinin. You're not going to be like a kabetza. So therefore, it comes out the two kotovot, right, that you eat it without the garinim, are mutar outside of the sukkah. So it comes out that it doesn't have a kabetza. And if so, the kotevet hagasa with the garinita, how could it be what? It's going to be more than a kabetza. It does not make sense. You cannot tell me that a date with the garin is more than 2 dates without a garin. It doesn't make sense. Now, if you're going to tell me that it's going to be more than a kabetza, also doesn't work. So says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah says, yes, 2 dates without the garin is not a kabetza. A kotevet hagasa with the garin is more than a kabetza.
It does you have to make it by weight.
What? We do it by weight. What do you mean we do it by weight? Meaning the Yosef and things like that, we do it by weight, but the halakha is that really goes by nefach, really goes by volume, right? But in order to...
The weight of a building.
What?
The weight of a drink for volume.
No, the weight of the volume, yes. But halakha l'maaseh, we're going to say like this. The halakha is that really we go by volume, right? That's the halakha. However, though, since it's very difficult to calculate the volume, many times we will go by weight. But the real halakha is the volume, it's not the weight. Okay? Well, matzah and everything. That's the way it is. Yeah. So Amar of Papa says, Hainu de'amni inshin. That's what people say. Trei kaba de tamre, chad kaba de kashiata osriach. A shiur of 2 kavs of timarim. Remember, a kav was a measurement. So 2 kavs of timarim is like 1 kav of garinim and a little bit more, which means that the garinim actually have more than the basar pri. That means the garin, the actual pit, the pit is very big. The pit is actually big, right? That's why it's so important, right? Yeah, that's what he's saying. The pit is actually, that's what you need. 2, no, not every pri. This one, the dates. Yeah, the dates. So it says the trei kabe de tamre, 2 kavs of tamarim. You already have 1 kav of garinim and a little bit more. Okay? Yeah. So he says, Rava comes and he says now, there the reasoning why is Mishum Davile Pere Upere Lobal Sukkah. I said 1 second, but there it's because it's a fruit. And fruit do not need the sukkah. When you eat a fruit, you don't have to go inside the sukkah to eat the fruit. Okay, so therefore, if so, we could say that even 1 kotevet, right? Even if it's going to be more than a kabetza and whatever you want, you don't need, right? You don't need the sukkah. Correct or not? Yeah, you don't need the sukkah. Why not? It's a fruit. A fruit, you don't need it. So, Meitvei, so we're going to ask the following question. Amar Rabbi says, when we were learning Torah by Rabbi Elazar ben Shamua, he brought in front of us figs and grapes. And we ate them on achilat arai outside of the sukkah. Achilat arai in, achilat keva lo. So it's only mashma that only achilat arai, but not achilat keva, which means I could only do it if it's going to be something which is arai, which is not fixed, but not something keva. So answers the Gemara, Ema, I'm going to say, Achalnum ka achilat arai chutz sukkah. No, I ate them like an achilat arai, because remember that achilat perot is always considered arai. Meaning whenever you eat fruits are like, it's not fixed. It's not like a real meal. You understand? So therefore, because of that, that's why it's like an achilat. Not that it all depends whether you fix your meal on fruits or not. Nothing to do with fixing meal. Whenever you eat fruits, that's like an achilat arai. Ibai tema, a second answer, right? On Kavanat Rebbe. Achalnu achilat keva, va'achalnu pat achilat arai ba'adai hu chutz sukkah. We ate the figs and the grapes, mamash like a shiur of achilat keva. And we ate the bread with a shiur of an achilat arai, together with the fruits, outside of the sukkah. Which means that since achalnu arai, the eating was not a fixed eating on the bread, that's why there was no problem. The fruits anyway, it doesn't matter. It was the fruits, mamash, we were eating achilat keva, but it doesn't matter on the fruits. You don't need, right, on fruits, even if you're going to eat achilat keva, you don't need the sukkah. So lema meseyale, why don't we just say that this is a proof? So that which it says, lefichach im yishlim mimineh tergima. If you completed the seudah, the amount of the seudot with mineh targima, with different types of mizonot or different types of things like that, yatzah, you're going to be tzedek chovah. Which means, what exactly is mineh targima? Is it basar v'dagim? Is it going to be meat and fish that you eat it with the bread? Or what is it exactly? Now remember, what are we talking about here exactly? During the 7 days of the Chag, you have to have 14 seudot. One in the nighttime, one in the morning. One in the nighttime, one in the morning. So 14.
Lunch, dinner.
Yeah, during the 7 days of Sukkot, in the Sukkah. No, but then you have 21. Then you have 21. Yeah, then you have 21. But if you have 14, right, it's morning, nighttime, morning, nighttime, morning, nighttime. So you always have 2 seudot. So he says, what happens if one of the seudot, I ate it with mineh targima? Now we're going to try to find out what is mineh targima. Usually we say mineh targima is like mizonot, things like that, like other type, but it's not bread, right? So he says you're going to be tzedek chovah. So the Gemara says like this, now if you're going to tell me pere baru sukkah, that the fruits need sukkah, litni perot. Why don't we just say perot? Why do we have to say mineh targima that we're translating as something that accompanies the bread or things like that? Just say fruits, right? Elama. Obviously, fruits are not obligated in the sukkah. So fruits are not obligated in the sukkah. If you ate it inside the sukkah, you're not going to use a meal because you didn't eat it inside the sukkah. So ask the Gemara, it's not true. My mineh targima. What are mineh targima? Perot, the fruits. Yeah? So the Gemara says, no. He says, no. What are we dealing with? Be'atra de lo shchicha pere. No, you're right. In a place where there's no fruits, right? So therefore, mineh targima, right, which is found in everywhere, is not usually fruits. But be'emet, also the fruits are chayavim in the sukkah, and you are going to be tzedek chovah. So basically, that place where they lived, there was no fruits. So that's why it said mineh targima. But be'emet, really be'emet, you could also do with fruits. So maybe be'emet, you're chayav. So now we're going to go back, okay? So according to this, they wanted to finish off with the proof that maybe be'emet, fruits are chayavim. We don't know, because you can't bring a proof that it's not. We don't know. Maybe that city we didn't have, right? We didn't have any types of obligation, and that's it. Okay? So now he says like this, Razvid says, Kotevet Agasa she'amru chasera mikabetza. The Kotevet Agasa that they said was talking about be'emet, it's less than a kabetza. So therefore, don't think that the Kotevet is more than a kabetza. The Kotevet is less than a kabetza. The Tanam, as we learned in the Mishnah, Bet Shammai says, Seor bekezait, chametz bekakotevet. The Mishnah says, what is the shiur of a seor? So according to Bet Shammai, there's a difference between seor and chametz. Remember, seor is something which is leaven, and chametz is chametz. So you got two different things. So the seor, right, is only with a kazait. The chametz is with a kotevet. So we ask the question of Avinamba, so we ask against this, what's the reasoning of Bet Shammai? So he says, what is the reason why there's a difference? He says, Nichtov Rachmana, the Torah should have said chametz, velo by seor. The Torah should have only written chametz. It shouldn't have written seor. Va'ana amina, now I would have said, with a kal vachomer, just like chametz, shen chimotzo kasher, which means chametz does not have the properties to make something else chametz. Seor, which is a leaven, is what causes other things. It's like the conductor, which causes other things to become chametz. So right, that's seor, not chametz. So all you had to do was, you write chametz. You didn't need to write down seor. So if umah chametz shen chimotzo kasher, it's still going to be asur bekazait, right? It's going to be asur with a kazait. Seor shechimutzo kasher. Seor does make other things chametz. Lo kol sheken. Are you going to say it's kol sheken that it's going to be asur bekazait? So therefore, mi the palginu rachmana, from the fact that the Torah separated it and the Torah differentiated between it, limdunu. So therefore, we learned alecha limda lecha shiuro shel ze lo. It's not the same shiur. Meaning the fact that the Torah split it up in the pasuk. Ki choseor, right? You're not allowed to eat seor and chametz. The pasuk says in the lashon. It doesn't ring a bell. No, that's ki choseor choduvash. Yeah, what's that one? Right? First, split it up. So the fact that the Torah split it up, it says shirosh zeh lo kishu zeh. Seor is with a kazait. Why? Because since it's a much stronger potent of a chametz, so therefore it's with a kazait, which is a smaller, right? It's a smaller amount, right? And chametz is with a kotevet. Chametz is a bigger amount because chametz cannot make something else chametz, so it's a bigger amount. Okay, fine. That was the Gemara until these are the words of Bet Shammai. Now says the Gemara, if you're going to tell me kotevet agasa is greater than a kabetza, which means the kotevet agasa is even more than a kabetza. Michti, let us see. Bet Shammai shiur denafish bekazait kemahadre litne kabetza. So if you're looking for something bigger than a kazait, teach kabetza. What are the measurements? There's kazait, and then double a kazait is kabetza. Right? 28 grams is the kazait, right? 54, 56 is a kabetza. You double, right? That's an egg size. Kazait is an olive size, right? Kabetza is an egg size. So therefore it's double. So therefore, if you're already looking for a bigger shiur, so just say kabetza. So how do we know now that it's going to be even like a kotevet, right? That's what we're saying. So if you're going to tell me now kotevet akasa is more than a kabetza, so if he's looking more than a kazait, it's kabetza. Why did he go to a kotevet? Maybe you're going to tell me it's the same thing. Meaning the kotevet agasa and the kazai and the kabetza, are the same shiur. So nitne kabetza, so just teach you kabetza. But rather comes to teach you kotevet is less than a kabetza. So it comes out that there's three shiurim. There's kazait, the kotevet with the garin, and then there's the kabetza. It's three shiurim. The kazait, the kabetza is kaful, and the kotevet is in the middle. Right? If I remember correctly, I think the kotevet, they say it's around like 33, 35 grams or whatever it is. Okay? So says the Gemara, Mimai, how do we know this? Dilma leolame malecha. Maybe I'm going to tell you really memet kotevet agasa that they said was more than a kabetza. And hastama, kabetza. But a stam kotevet, which is not gasa, is a kabetza. Vinami ke'adadininu. Even though you're going to tell me now that this kotevet and the kabetza is going to be the same thing. We just took one of them. You're right. Either a kotevet or kotevet agasa, which is a big fat one. That's bigger. A regular kotevet is the same as a kabetza. And that's what we want to say. So says the Gemara, we just chose one of them. So says the Gemara, no, you're right. It's another proof. Where's the other proof? The other proof is elamehacha from here. We learn from here, it says, elamehacha, kama mezamim, until when do you do the zimun? Ad kazait, until a kazait. Right? These are the words of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda says, until a kabetza. So basically, until when can you do the zimun in order to do, so either a kazait or a kabetza? Machloka, Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda. So what is the machloka between them? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Meir savar, Rabbi Meir holds. What? Rabbi Meir says, v'achalta zo achila. What is achila? Whenever it's written achila in the Torah, it's always a kazait. The person eats. What is eating? A kazait. Yeah, if they had a little tiny spoon, no, nothing. It has to be a kazait. That's called eating. Yeah. By the way, this applies even to halacha l'maaseh. Many times you have to have meat, right? You have to eat meat on Shabbat. Don't have a little tiny thing. Eat a kazait. A kazait is eating. So you ate a kazait. Okay, Rabbi Meir savar ve'achalta zo chila. V'savata, מה? וסבתה זו שתייה, לא קשור.
לא, אמרתם בשבת.
Yeah, but I'm talking about in your house. In your house, you were using chova with kiddush with a motzi. I'm talking about meat. Eating, there's a mitzvah to eat meat on Shabbat. The mitzvah of eating meat, or you're eating. No. Right? And no. Okay, we're talking about the meat. Right? Meat or fish or anything. When it's written that there's a mitzvah to eat fish on Shabbat, you're not going to have a little tiny, I don't know what. You understand? You're going to have a kazait. A kazait is called achila. Okay? V'savata zu shtiya. Savata is shetiyah. Because of this, by the way, you should know, we mentioned this many times, people don't know this halacha. There's halacha brought down on the Ramah. Ramah brings down halacha that v'savata is shetiyah, drinking. Which means, let's say a person came to the meal, and they ate. And they ate and ate and ate, but they didn't drink. And then they did Birkat HaMazon. And after Birkat HaMazon, they drank. Now it could be that now they're obligated in Birkat HaMazon again. Because beforehand, the Birkat HaMazon was not Doraita, because they didn't drink. Now all of a sudden that they drank, now they were chayavim bikad hamazon. So therefore, they always tell you they have to be make sure you drink during the meal, because if you drank, that's for savata.
Doesn't matter what drink, with wine or water.
Whatever you want, you could drink whatever it is, whatever. Which one? The savata is shtia. Yeah, savata is shtia. That's why I always told you, my uncle had an all-you-can-eat, right, restaurant in Toronto. And I remember that we used to come and I used to call him up to always try to get a deal. So I used to tell him, okay, fine, can we get the free drinks? Right? The free Cokes. And they used to give us obviously it wasn't the real Coke. It was how do you call the fountain soda. Right? But it was always free Coke, no problem. It's not the real Coke. It's a
machine.
Nah, it's not the same. Huh? What? No, for sure they charge, but it's not the same thing. It's not the same.
They make bigger profit, drinking.
Yeah, they get a bigger priced thing. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to teach you how to do business. You charge fountain soda instead of that. You're gonna save money. Okay, fine. So basically, what happens is right, but it's not the same.
It depends if you have a very good carbonates. Some people, they don't put enough carbonate on.
Okay, fine.
Everything, it's not the liquid, it's the carbonate.
Okay, fine. So basically what happened was that I always used to think we got the better deal. After a few years, I remember he told me, he went and he said, people, they come and they ask me for the free drinks. They think kilu that I'm doing them a favor. I said, they're doing me the favor. Why? The more that they drink, the less that they eat. The more that they drink, they get filled up with all the gas, they get filled up. So they're eating less. So for him, it was better. You want free drinks? No problem. Kilu, he's doing us a favor. We're doing him a favor. You understand? V'savata zu shtiya. V'achila b'kazait. Right? Rabbi Yehuda says no. V'achalta v'savata is achila sheyesh b'seviya. What is an achila that has a seviya? It's kabetza. Now, if you're going to tell me kotevet agasa that they said it's more than a kabetza, hashta kabetza, you're going to be satiated. Tata lo miyatva, but you're not going to be miyatev date. Which means if you were already satiated, you ate a kabetza, and now you're already full, you're going to tell me now that your mind is not going to be relaxed? So how can you tell me that the kotevet agasa is going to be more than a kabetza? If you already were satiated with a kabetza, all the more so now you're not going to be miyatve date. For sure you're going to be miyatve date. But rather comes teach you kotevet agasa shamru pachot mikabetza. The kotevet agasa that he said is going to be more than is going to be less than a kabetza. Kabetza is masbiah. Ke kotevet maniyat vadate. That means when you eat a kabetza, you're satiated. When you eat a kotevet agasa, then you're going to be right. You're going to be just how do you call it? You're going to be fine. You're going to be like calm. That it's not that you're mamash and ta'anit. You understand? Fine. Then the Gemara says. Tanya, we learned to the right that Rabbi Omer, Rabbi says, Kol ha-shiurin kulam bekazait chutz mitumat ochlin. All the shiurin of food is usually in a kazait, except for tumat ochlin, right, which is like going to be a kabetza. Sheshina katuv b'mashma'an, because the Torah came and it said the lashon of the Torah to do with tumat ochlin, v'shinu chachamim b'shiuran, and the rabbis changed it in the shiur. Raya l'davar, what's the proof to it? Yom Kippurim. Why? My shina katuv b'mashma'an. What does that mean that they changed it? Milot teuneh, from the fact that it's written kichol hanefesh shel teuneh betzem hazeh. So therefore, my shinu chachamim b'shiur. What does it mean that the chachamim changed the shiur? B'kakotevet, which means that only through a kippur is it a different shiur. Usually, any type of a shiur of eating is always going to be a kazait. If it's going to be a shiur of tum'ah, it's kabetza. Okay, so it says the Gemara, my raya l'davar min kippurim. What's the raya from kippur? So he says like this: Di mehatam. If it was going to be over there that we're talking about the tumat ochlim itself. Hava, I would have thought to say orcha dikrahu. That's the way of the pasuk, which means that it's not coming to teach you anything. The shinui of the lashon of lo teuneh by kippur, it's not coming to teach you that it's going to be the yisur bitul inui is going to be from achila and the shiur is going to be a kotevet. But now that we said that kippur is going to be different and it changed the lashon of the pasuk, now I know that when it says lo teuneh, it doesn't mean the regular eating. It's a different type of an eating. Okay, fine. Now the Gemara says tumat ochlin bekabetza minanan. How do we know that tumat ochlin is with a kabetza? Remember, how do we know what's the concept of tumat ochlin bekabetza? That's why you do netilat yadayim with a kabetza, because it's tumat ochlin. The concept of netilat yadayim was because of tumat ochlin. Anything to do with tumat ochlin was always a kabetza, right? So how do we know this? So Amar Rabbi Lazar, Amar Rabbi Avu, Amar Rabbi Lazar, says Rabbi Avu, name of Rabbi Lazar. The Amar Kab says in a pasuk, Mikol ha'ochel asher yachel, right? From all the food which you're going to eat. Now, when it says asher yachel, you don't have to tell me that. Mikol ha'ochel. Right? What does that mean? Asher yachel. Le'ochel haba mechamat ochel. It's food that comes because of food. What is it talking about? Beitzat tarnegolet. The beitza is food. And it's also coming from the tarnegolet, which is also food. The rooster is a food, and the beitza is a food. The chicken is a food. So therefore, it's food coming from food. Okay? So from here, what? Which one? No, because from here we're learning that it's kabetza. Remember, where does the kabetza? Nothing to do with the bracha. Brachot is the bracha darbanan. Nothing to do with bracha. Tumat ochlin. Tumat ochlin is kabetza. How do we know tumat ochlin is kabetza? We learn it from the pasuk. Mikol ha'ochel asher yachel. Food which comes from food. What is food that comes from food? A kabetza, and that's why tumat ochlin is kabetza, which comes from ochlin. Right? Mikol ha'ochel asher yachel. Okay, that's what we're learning. Okay, and that's what we're talking about to do tumat sheretz. Mikol ha'ochel asher yachel asher yovalav my nitma. We're talking about tumat ochlin. So mikol ha'ochel asher yachel kabetza that comes from a tarnegolet. Okay, so says the Gemara ve'im gdi. Maybe it's a gdi, right? Which is very big, which is coming from the mother, which is also big. Why are you coming from such a small an egg? Maybe it's a big gdi. So the Gemara says mechusa shechita. The gdi is lacking, right? Shechita. So it's not ochel. Ochel has to be that it's right now food. Right? The gdi is lacking shechita. Ve'ima ben pekua. Says the Gemara, maybe it's a ben pekua. Ben pekua means that it was in the mother's stomach, and when you do the shechita to the mother, now it's born. So you don't have to do shechita to it. So says the Gemara, taun kriya. You still have to do kriya. What is kriya? You have to tear it. Right? What does that mean? You're not allowed to eat it the way that it is. So says the Gemara, ve'ima beitzat bar yochani. Says maybe it's a big type of a bird, which is like a beitza, a very big bird, right? Which is bigger than a beitzat tarnegolet, which is basically like a very big egg, right? It's a bigger egg, right? It doesn't say here. It doesn't say batiana. No, but it doesn't say batiana. This is another type of an of gadol, but it does. It's not a. It's bar yochani. I don't know what it says in English. What does it say in English? What type of bird is it? It says the duck. I don't know. Here it's bar yochani. Bar yochani is not batiana. Here it says number 13. It's brought down in the Chorot. No, the next one. That's Ben Pekua. The next one. No, not Ben Pekua. The next one. Next one. Bar Yochni. So the Gemara answers tafasta merubelo tafasta, tafasta muat tafasta, which means if you're going to start grabbing such big shiurim, you grab too much, you don't grab anything. If you grab something small, then you grab it. So that's why we prefer to take a smaller shiur than such a big shiur. So says the Gemara, ve'ima biata d'tzporta. Maybe it's the eggs of a small bird, right? 1 second. So he says over here, why don't we just say that it's a smaller one, which is basically the eggs of a tziporta, the zuta tuva, right? So he says, right, Rabbi Avhudi de Amar, mikol ha'ochel asher yachel, ochel shata ochlo bevat achat. It's something that you could eat it in one shot. So basically, the biggest size that you could put in your mouth is a kabetza. You could basically take an egg, put it in your mouth, and you could swallow it. Yeah, that's the biggest size. That's what I say. That's the biggest size that you could actually swallow in one shot. Okay? Amar Rabbi Elazar says Rabbi Elazar, somebody's going to eat chelev nowadays. Remember, this is the prohibited fats. You have to write a shiur of achilato. How much should you eat in order to bring a chatat later on when the Beit HaMikdash is going to be built? Maybe they're going to come, they're going to write down, they're going to change the shiur of how much is the measurements. Because remember, according to the measurements, if you're going to tell me the mechayev and korban kazait katan, they're going to be mechayev a korban on even a small kazait. But Tanya, we learned in the Braita, hashav miyadiato. It has to be that you did the avera b'shogeg, which means you were chazarbo. So then you're going to be mevi korban shigato. Shalom nesham miyadiato. But if you didn't retract from that which your knowledge is, and maybe korban shigato, you can bring it on the shigato. So says the Gemara, ela de lo mechayev korban adika kazai gadol. You're right. We're not going to be mechayev a korban until you have a bigger kazai, right? Ulmai de salik, right? Adaite meikara. So what is the salik adaite meikara? What is according to what you're thinking at the beginning? The mechayev korban a kazai katan. You're going to be mechayev a korban on a small kazai. Mayarbe b'shurim. What does it mean marbe b'shurim? So says the Gemara, Shema yarbe bekorbanot mechamat shiurim. Maybe you're going to bring too many korbanot because of the shiurim. Meaning, since you have a smaller shiur, you're going to bring different korbanot, and obviously, right, you can't. So Amar Rabbi Yochanan says Rabbi Yochanan, shiurim ve'onashin alacha Moshe miSinai. You should know that all the shiurim and the onashin they're alacha Moshe miSinai. onashim, the punishments is the michtav ktive, because it's already written. Elahachi kamar, but this is what it means to say shiurim shel onashim. The shiur of the onashim is alachal Moshe Sinai. Tanya Miyachi, we also learned this in a Braita. Shiurim shel onashim is alachal Moshe Sinai. And achirim omrim bedino shel yaabetz, which is Otniel ben Kenaz, right? Tiknu. Which one? The shiurim of the yisurim that you're going to be chayav, right? Of the onish. That is going to be from alachal Moshe Sinai. The onashim, the onish, the malkiyot, the death penalties, all the things of the onish. Okay, so he says, "V'aktiv." It's written, "Ela mitzvot she'en navi rasha lechadesh davar me'ata." So answers the Gemara, "Shachum v'chazrum yisedum." No, they forgot it and then they put it back. Okay, they forgot it and they put it back. Okay, fine. So we stop here.